No, we can't go on.
6 o'clock, we'll get started here, okay? Okay, welcome to the Addison Township Board meeting. Today is September 20th at 6 o'clock. We're meeting here at the Addison Township office at 1440 Rochester Road in Addison Township. If we could all stand for the pledge, please. Ed, you're our veteran.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing.
Dear Lord, now bring us all together in this beautiful township hall, and let our decisions be worthy of your decision. In the Lord's name we pray, amen.
Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes, Trustee Geibel. Trustee Geibel. Here. Trustee Newby.
Here.
Trustee Garrett. Here. Trustee Brayfield.
Here.
Treasurer Fisher. Here. Bennett, present. Supervisor Pearson.
Present. They're accounted for. Any announcements?
No.
Department reports, as usual, available in my office, or contact the deputy supervisor. Any petitions?
No.
Okay, order of business. Approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented. I'll support.
Any discussion with the board? Not hearing any, do we have roll call, please?
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Geibel. Yes. Linda Garrett. Yes. Ed Brayfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Yes, on the consent agenda tonight would be the approval of the minutes for August, the approval of bills as paid for August, adopt the Oakland County Health Network resolutions for September as National Suicide Prevention and National Recovery Month, resolution adopting the Addison Township investment policy, authorizing the addition of Genesis Credit Union as a depository and delete First Merit as a depository.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
I'll support.
We have a motion and we have second. Any discussion? Not hearing any, we have roll call on that, please.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brayfield.
Yes.
Karen Geibel. Yes. Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay. We'll move on to item number 2. Resolution authorizing the 2021 millage rates with the special assessment districts. This is a routine item. We do this every year. It's important to state where we are in assessing the residents. And I'll read column 9 of the L4029. This tells where our millages are coming from and what the people are being taxed. General operating is at 1.0112. That's what the township runs on, 1 mil. Police is at 3.4137. The fire capitalization is at 0.7202. The fire operating is 2.2025. And NODA, the senior busing, is 0.2367. Any questions from the board on that? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to authorize 2021 millage rates with the special assessment districts.
I'll support.
Any discussion from the board? If not, we have roll call, please.
Ed Brayfield.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Geibel.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to item number 3. This is a resolution adopting the township benefit programs for a 401A and a 457B and discontinuance of our simple IRA. The fire chief and I and the treasurer and the clerk, we've scheduled several meetings. We had 2 firms that we were really interested in, and one was Burnham and Flowers, the other one was MERS. As you know, MERS is the Michigan Employment Retirement System, and most of the firemen in the state are with that firm, and it's recognized throughout the state. As you all know, we're having trouble finding bona fide advanced life support fire personnel. And in Addison Township, that's very important because we're so far away from the hospital that we can do everything in that ambulance with connection with the hospital that they can do in the hospital. And our people are highly trained. And it's getting very hard to find these people because all the other cities are stealing from the other cities. And we're in that same boat. When we looked at the retirement plan here, trying to get people to come here, we did get a bunch of applicants who wanted to come here to be, we had an opening for an advanced life support person. But once they found out that the retirement could not switch over like all the other firemen, then they didn't want to work here. So we're at that point right now. Anyways, after reviewing all of the, and we had the meetings, we went through everything, I'm recommending MERS for the township. And I'd like to open this up to the board for any discussion. Lori was at the meeting with us, and Pauline was there. Maybe they could add a little bit more. But this would be a big plus for our township to retain employees. I was just at the supervisors meeting, and they're all having, every township is having the exact same problem. They can't retain and hold personnel. Every city is stealing from every other city. So to be able to retain people and qualified people, we end up training people here, spending all the time, sending them to school, getting their certifications, and then another city says thank you very much and says we'll offer you a better retirement, and I don't fault them for leaving and doing that, but we need to step up to the plate. And in the middle of the night when someone dials 911, I hope that we have the best personnel available to get to your house to make sure that you can get to the hospital okay. Well, anyways, I open it up for the board for discussion.
I've got a comment. That'll just bring Addison Township pretty much in line with the other communities, correct?
We're still way behind, but yes, it would certainly help.
In the anecdote you provided, it was the guy didn't come to our township because the benefits didn't transfer over.
We had several of them like that.
Okay.
Yeah, several of them. I think Chief, did we have 7 applicants?
Yeah, we had 2 of those that were really qualified but would not come over because their retirement wouldn't move with them.
So if we switched to MERS, they would transfer over.
Well, people would love, just like all of us who have moved out to Addison Township, they all want to come out to Addison Township. They love to work out here. Some of them are very experienced. They've worked in the city, and as they get older, they want to come out to someplace really nice to live and work. So they'd be willing to come out if we had the same kind of retirement program. Yes.
I've been familiar with MERS as a company, and I guess for everybody's benefit, we're looking at switching from a 401k to a 401b, which allows the retiree to draw earlier in their career. So for a firefighter that's going to work for 30 years, they'll be able to draw money out earlier than 62. Plus, you're allowed to put more money into these programs than the 401k. So that was the primary reason of looking to move plans. But as a company, MERS is a great company. They deal with municipalities. Burnham and Flowers does as well. They have a similar program. But when I did side-by-side benefits and looked at what the plans cost versus the earnings, MERS was by far cheaper. So it's going to benefit the employees across the board, not just the fire department employees. So I preferred MERS out of what we had to choose from, and I would like to make a resolution to...
we have one question.
I just have a question about, is there any extra cost to the township in changing these plans?
We have a simple IRA right now, and a simple IRA, 3% is the maximum an employee can put into that. And with the MERS, it's just like any other big firm. They can put a lot more into it. I think it's up to $17,000 for their retirement. So So there's a lot of benefits to it. The cost actually is way down. It's 0.6.4, whereas we're paying, if you go with any of the other firms, they're between 1.6 and up to 2.25 as far as fees. But the fees at MERS is paid by the employee. Anybody else? You got a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution adopting MERS as the township benefit program for 401A and 457B and discontinuance of the simple IRA.
I'll support that.
And we have a motion and support. We'll open up for discussion one more time. Not hearing any. Could we have a roll call, please?
Karen Guyl.
Yes.
Ed Wakefield.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, and now since we passed it, that we've wanted MERS in, I think we have to review the agreement. And I think we're replacing 1 month with 6 months for temporary employees.
So there's 5 documents, if we went with MERS, that the board is going to need to approve. And one of those documents has temporary employees down for 1 month. We need to alter that so that temporary employees fewer than 6 months in total.
I think the reason that we do that is sometimes when we hire a temporary employee, they're like on probation for 6 months to see whether or not they're a fit. And so in our, I believe in our employee manual, that it shows that they have to be here for 6 months because it wouldn't be right to be giving them the retirement and then actually not keeping them past 6 months.
So they could also be, like, say, when it's a really busy election, I might have to bring somebody in for a couple weeks, and they would be considered a temporary worker. So there's other avenues. So I think the most that we've ever done it was for 6 months, and she said it's okay to go ahead and change it.
So does that take board action?
We actually need to approve all 5 of these, and then also include to change temporary employee on the defined contribution plan adoption agreement from 1 month to 6 months.
As you stated, I'll make that motion.
We need to approve all of these.
We have to do one?
We have to approve
Each one by itself?
Each one separately?
No, but we should probably read those. Do you want me to read them?
I looked at it.
Go ahead and read
It
them.
seemed like
Okay,
they were-
I'll make a motion to move the resolution adopting the MERS defined contribution plan. I also move to adopt MERS Uniform 457 Supplemental Retirement Program Resolution. Resolution establishing authorized signatories for MERS contact service credit purchase approvals. MERS defined contribution plan adoption agreement. And then there is a second MERS defined contribution plan adoption agreement, which we will change the temporary employee from 1 month to 6 months.
Why wouldn't we just exclude temporary employees?
Because we have temporary employees. So we excluded them in the one area that's for elected officials. So we do hire temporary employees.
How long are they temporary, though, before we hire them?
Well, we don't always hire them. So again, sometimes we might keep them up to 6 months. Other times, if I'm really busy, I might call up an election inspector and she's actually defined. So when you look up the definition of a temporary employee, they're defined to do a certain job for a certain amount of time. So I think it is important to keep that in there because we do use them.
Any other questions? Not hearing any. Anybody have a motion? Do we have a...
I read all those, so you need a second.
So, are you making a
I think
motion?
Linda made the motion. They took accepting the reading. I'll second it.
And you'll second it.
So you read those, right? Linda?
They're right here.
They're in
Yeah.
here.
I didn't know it was all for
It's
you.
just too much to
We have a
read.
motion and we have a second. And we'll open up one last time for discussion. If not, roll call, please.
Jacob Ruby.
Yes.
Karen Guyl.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, and that passes. Move on to item number 4, the janitorial services agreement. We requested that we go out for our RFP. 3 of them were returned. One was $3,040, one was $903, and the third separated the windows from the actual cleaning of the offices for $948. The low RFP is our current company. System 4 is the middle RFP. It appears they contract to others, which is good. We don't have a problem with that, but I'd truly like to give the System 4, is my recommendation, a chance this year. The system we have right now, we're supposed to have windows cleaned. I don't think we've ever had windows cleaned except by the people who are doing community service from the courts. So that's what we usually have them do when they come out. The cleaning, I'd like to try and see if we get a little better cleaning. We'll get some of the cobwebs, especially in my office, taken out. And so I'll open it up for discussion. Anybody have any? You must have something to say about the janitorial service.
Because my office is cleaner than yours?
Well,
It's not.
I mean, unless you're doing your own dusting.
I mean, I've heard bad things about the cleaning service here, but do we know anything about this other company? Like, are they just a fly-by-the-night, or do we have any referrals from them? Do they do cleaning for other businesses in the area? Because they're in Bloomfield Hills.
Yes, they all came with good references. My thing is, if you remember the last time that we went out for bids, we only had one person who applied. Well, you weren't here at that time. We only had the one person who even applied. This time we did get 3 people. So we settled for the one person that applied. We'd really like to up the service a little bit. And so we don't have to do our own cleaning.
Mr. Supervisor, they
Yeah.
did turn in 3 references with their phone numbers. And that'll be on their Exhibit 1. Down at the bottom of the page is Central, Sierra Ingram, St. Fabian Church, and Polaris Pharmacy with their phone numbers, so we could call them and ask them.
Pauline, you spoke to these people also. What do you have to say?
She seemed very thorough. I try not to talk to any one specific bidder for any length of time, but she was consistent and she seemed thorough. I can't say anything else. I don't know. I should add though that it appears that she's a business and there are going to be subcontractors. So if the board decides to go that way, we need to make sure that the subcontractor portion of this is reviewed and taken care of appropriately.
Okay, my recommendation still stands.
Is that a motion? I'll second
It's
it.
just my recommendation.
I'll second your recommendation to go to System 4.
Well, then I'll make mine a motion, and usually I don't make motions, but I would make a motion that we go to System 4 for the contract, which was $898, and I believe, and the windows would be, $948. We had to do windows, is that correct?
Correct.
but I usually get court personnel. There's an awful lot of people apparently that
Could we possibly add to your motion just a little bit?
go right ahead.
Continued upon legal review and approval of the submitted documents with supervisor determining when the windows need to be cleaned.
And I'll add that to my motion.
Thank you.
No, my second.
Any further discussion on it? Let's go for roll call then.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Garbo.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Ed Rickfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, and that passes, thank you. Go on to number 5. This is our discussion authorization for a columbarium in the Lakeville Cemetery, including engineering and possible budget amendment. What we're asking the board for is an agreement on the final pricing from Sunset. We received the Sunset estimate of 1 to 2 prices and up to 5. There's a big break when you go up to 5 of these units. And we're going to have to put the foundation in anyhow. So what I'd like to ask, what's the review of the board on this? Are we into putting the columbariums in the cemetery? The cemetery is filling up. It's going to fill up. And as people don't understand what that, these are the big units where you put your ashes in, and it's like in a row with some benches, and that will extend the life of the cemetery. The cemetery is owned by the township, and we do maintain it forever. So it's part of the township responsibility. So Pauline, you've been dealing with them. You have anything to say on the prices?
I just concur that there is a big drop when we do order 5. I think there's a sticker shock though that comes with it, but it is going to be a pass-through because residents will buy it and then it will be reimbursed. Also, I looked at it from another vantage point that we do need to set the foundation for all 5. And then when I kind of cover over the diagram, how is it going to look if there's only 1? I mean, I guess it could be a place where people could actually have a service if they wanted to, but it's, I don't know, maybe we do need to do a completed project so it looks like it was done professionally.
If you go out to the National Cemetery out in Holly, my brother's buried there, you'll see them all around. They're very nice, and that's because the cemeteries fill up. And so they're putting these up for your ashes. And I think it's time that our township decided to do that also because our cemetery is going to fill up. There's no doubt about it. As you know, for residents, our township only charges $100 for a plot in the cemetery, which is very reasonable for residents. But if you bring in all of the fees for the actual funeral and dig to the grave site, everything like that, it gets up to somewhere over $1,000. Some of these can be just about that same price, and you don't have the cost of all the digging up and all the other stuff like that. I know it's not a real nice subject to talk about, okay, but I'm just saying that in the future, if we put these in, how many units will there be if we have 5 of them in there?
Yes, on her list, each unit, 480.
So that's a lot. And like we said, it's a thing where the township gets their money back on this to maintain the cemetery, because as people buy them, then with the money is returned back to the township for the money that we expended. So the first thing I'd like to know is, do we want to order them? And if we do we want 1 or do we want 5?
I'm very in favor of this project, and I'm very impressed with all the work that the clerk's done on it. I think it makes sense that we buy 5, just because it is a cost savings, and it's going to probably get more expensive in the future.
One more thing, if we get 5, we're saving $5,000 each. So, well, 5,000, not 5,000 each, but 5,000. Price would be $33,392 each if we bought 5 versus $38,992 if we bought 1. So I agree with Linda. I think maybe we should go with 5 and be a cost savings overall. It'll cost more up front, but it'll be a savings on the overall.
Well, we have a motion and second, and you're seconding it, and that's a purchase of 5.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do we know like the break-even point on when we'll actually start making money for the maintenance?
Jacob, I won't have that number until the bids come in to actually put the foundation in. We're going to have to go through site plan, and that's going to be the next subject. So as Sunset described this to me, so they're giving us what the price is right now, and then she said once all of those other fees come in, we will have to do a new cemetery ordinance. Then we'll come up with our number at that time, because we'll have to add those into that factor. So I just don't have those numbers now. She said probably around 1,200 is going to be a target number, so that's just a very rough, don't hold me to it. But it sounds like a lot, but then after you determine that you don't have an opening and closing, you don't have the, what do you call it, the headstone, it's basically a wash versus a full casket versus a crematory. So.
Okay, any other questions? Nothing?
Could we add something to Linda's motion?
Well, I always thought we should add the engineering.
We can take care of this one first, but is there something, well, it's going to be with Sunset, and we're going to include the engraving on the side and the front, and legal has reviewed their agreements. They're very basic. I was wondering if maybe we should ask legal if it's necessary to incorporate a township agreement as well.
What would be in the township agreement?
Well, that's why I want to ask them, should we have one? We're talking about a lot of funds there. I would like to make sure that he doesn't want to add something to this.
Okay, so the motion will be subject to legal approval.
If it's necessary, yes. And then the engraving, is that okay as well?
My second stands.
Okay, so you're asking for the engraving and to have legal look at it, and we're...
Engraving on the side and the front, and then ask legal if it's necessary to incorporate a township agreement with Sunset's agreement.
And we're talking 5.
Yes.
Correct. Any other discussion?
I have just one more question. So when people are in the niche, is there engraving that goes on the outside of that? Is that something that we would arrange?
And that's going to be coming down the road. We could probably determine, like maybe go out for RFPs and determine what local person or close person would be willing to do that every time. And how this lady from Sunset explained to me, we would give them a few of the cover niches, so then we would call and we would say this is what needs to go on that niche. They would prepare it and then it would be transferred out. So they always would have some available at their shop and then we would just transfer it out.
I know people can pre-buy the spots in the cemetery, right? Can they do the same for the niche?
Yes.
How many do you want?
I don't know, maybe 8. Yes.
We'll get our money back right away. Anyways, okay, so any more questions? Roll call, please.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Gabel.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now next we have a design and engineer proposal. This project will require site plan review and engineer plans for that area. First, let's take the conceptual plan and any comments or changes. for the long term for phase one. So the 5 will be in one area. They have given us several plans just for us to review. Does the board want to see the changes or okay to?
So while I was out there with them, we were looking for the best location to insert the calendariums. The ground is a little bit unlevel at this location, and I'm looking at design phase 1. So there's going to be some groundwork having to be done. Chris and I were discussing earlier possibly to move it over so that we would start our line, which I thought was a good idea until I realized it's behind the maintenance. Do we really want to spend this money and have it behind the maintenance building? So I chatted, Mary's from the auxiliary. What did you think of the plans?
I think they're really good. I'm not sure exactly where, because I haven't went out and looked at the property. But this type of thing is what's going on in all the cemeteries in Oakland County. You can see one on Mabee Road, and you can see what it looks like. If you want to go out that way. I think this is an excellent idea.
What about the location? Because we're concerned with if we start it where it's been selected about the memorial service.
It's not too far from the flagpole, is it?
No.
No,
it's behind the flagpole.
Yeah, as long as it's solid and it's, they can, and I'm sure they know how to do it, make it okay. I think that's a great place because it's right by the flagpole and the gazebo, and it would be a nice place to have a service out there.
Does the board have any questions on that, on the placement of it?
That's right next to where they do the Veterans Memorial, right?
Yes.
That's why we were thinking of moving it, but behind the gazebo was kind of great.
Nice.
Anybody else? Are you happy with that design?
My gravesite, so
No.
if it isn't, sell my gravesite for $30,000.
You're over here. And then the other thing, I guess if the location is fine, didn't you have some ideas as far as the materials?
Well, I was gonna, when I go out to the cemetery up in Holly, they have some very beautiful spots, and I said, and I'm looking at saving costs a little bit on the material instead of having pavers and all this stuff. I'm looking like maybe we could put a stamped concrete all around it so it looks like brick pavers and everything like that. And I think that would bring the cost down by putting the stamped concrete in there or different designs that way. We have a lot of local cement people around. Maybe we could save some money by having the local people do it who do stamped concrete. That's what I thought.
Versus what? I missed the first part. What would it be if it wasn't stamped concrete?
Well,
Looks like they almost have stones.
Yeah, they have some different material, and
then
they put marble up and others.
Right.
If you look in your packet from Independence Township, they have a cement slab, which is probably very deep because of the foundation. But the design work, this here looks a little bit more intricate, and it's really pretty, but do we want to get intricate like they're showing, or do we want to go with the cement like Bruce is talking about?
Well, they can dye the cementing, and I actually thought that's what that was. I didn't realize it might be pavers.
Well, if you go out to some of the other ones, they're putting marble on the outside. They put marble down, I'm just saying that if we can make it really look nice, but have it just solid cement, but we can dye it.
I think the foundation is going to need to be concrete where that's placed, so that's a requirement, but what's decorative beyond that, do we need to make a decision about that tonight?
Well, they're going to have to start working on the site plan because it's going to come to the planning commission, so we kind of need to give them direction. Is this what we were going to present to the planning commission? And if so, what type of materials might we like? Otherwise, we can bring it back to the board once they come up with a more detailed plan. or we can just have Bruce review the final plan. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Exposed aggregate would be nice too, that's not that much more expensive.
That would-
They can dye that.
What type of aggregate?
Exposed aggregate.
They did that up in the village. If you look in the village, the Four Corners now, they have exposed aggregate. That's where you see the little pebbles.
I've got a question.
That's a good idea.
Wouldn't that be the job of the planning commission instead of us? Because the contractors would be making presentations. I remember the building, when we were doing the building, it went to the planning commission and we all went.
Well, yeah, typically the planning commission's going to review it.
Then they'll
but the-
review it, make a suggestion what they thought would be best, but
The owner usually gives,
Okay.
gives what they want, and then the planning commission is going to make suggestions, but we need to give our engineer an idea of what we want, so that it's kind of
Okay.
close to the planning commission.
Would it be more expensive for them to give us a couple options of what they recommend?
Yes.
Consider the stamped concrete.
Did you
and-
see their prices? Yes.
Yeah, they should include that. Yeah, a couple options would be good. And landscaping, or something that would work.
There is some landscaping plans, which I don't really know if, Bruce, do you want to go down that road as far as landscaping plans, or wait a little bit?
Well, I look at it that first, I think we should just get some in there that, and, you know, this is a brand new thing for us. And what we do landscaping otherwise later on, that's where we have the memorial where the flagpoles are. I'm putting on just a nice 5 of them, and we're gonna have to, I don't know where we're gonna add on to those, if we add on to those.
The diagram for the additions, which hopefully we won't be doing that for a few years, they expand going to the east first. So it'll be going towards the maintenance building, and then if necessary, you can actually expand going to the west, but we're just showing going to the east at the moment because that's quite a few columbariums there. So they did an expansion just to give the board a rough idea of what it could look like as it would grow.
I like your idea, Bruce. The stamped concrete would save us a little bit of money and it would look just as nice as some real fancy marble.
The raised aggregate is fine too, I'm fine with that, you know, but that's just no harder to shovel
I could ask them to actually give their opinion on what would be best for this area as far as stamped concrete or aggregate, because they're both.
Well, they're both cement, so they're going to hold up equally as well. Brick pavers, I know, settle a lot, and it's a weed issue, so I would think, for coating purposes, aggregate or stamped concrete are fairly similar. The same companies are probably going to do them, so maybe it wouldn't be too much to get prices on both.
I agree with Lori.
Any changes to the design? They really wanted to know that. So we're looking at this, any changes?
I think that looks very nice. I think it's a good, the ability to keep on expanding it, so, down the road.
So, everybody happy with the design? Okay, then we need a motion to accept the conceptual plan. And I think that we'll get bids on the 2 different types of concrete.
I'll make the motion to accept the conceptual plan.
I'll support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any discussion further? We have roll call on that, please.
I have too many papers here. Yes. Jacob Newell.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Dottie.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. And on the last part of that, I think we need to know whether or not we want what engineer estimates.
Yes, the engineer gave everyone a list of what they're going to cover. We can pick and choose what we want or don't want, and I think the only thing that we could probably eliminate would be attendance at the township board meetings, which they estimated at 1920. We could ask them possibly to be available by phone, but usually their reports are so thorough, we probably won't even need them by phone either. And then they also said that they would take on the bidding and the contract administration and the construction administration, which of course they're going to have to do. So the only other possible thing would be the bidding, but with this being so technical and they're putting their seal of approval on it, I would just say eliminate the readings.
It's more pleasure.
I don't feel like we need them at the meetings, so.
Okay, so we just leave that for discussion then?
No, I think we need to make a motion because we're going to have to amend the budget. So I think we would need to make that motion to approve their proposal without attending the meetings.
Make a motion.
I kind of missed what the motion should be.
To approve their engineering proposal without attending of the meetings. So it'll be for 34,345.
And PEA group?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? A second? Okay, do we have roll call on that, please?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Gottle.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Ben Davis. Supervisor Pearson.
Oh, that passes. Now we'll move on to item number 6. This is a discussion on...
We need one more motion for this subject. We need a budget amendment.
Oh, that's right. We want to pay for this, don't we?
Colleen,
Yes.
can I ask on the possible budget amendments that you have listed here, do they include, the number include without the site plan or with the site plan attendance?
At the very bottom, like I did, at the top is 1 unit, 2 units, 5 units, and then number 2 is engineering. So the third section is the possible budget amendments, and that's combined, the engineering and the 50% that the company is going to be asking for. So if we approve 5 units with engineering, we're going to need to amend the budget by $124,700.
Okay. So the expenditure is to add sanitary improvement for the 124/7?
Correct, and then we need to add to the general fund carryover that same amount.
All right.
Okay. We have a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to increase revenue to general fund carryover 101,000,440,000 by $124,700. And likewise, increase expenditure to cemetery improvement 101,276,31000 by $124,700.
Support.
Okay, motion support, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Karen Gottle.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, and I'd like to thank Pauline for doing a lot of work. This has been a long time coming, and she's done an awful lot of work on the cemetery. The cemetery is her baby. She handles just about everything up there, the burials, everything. So I'd like to thank her for an awful lot of work on this.
Thank you very much. And it was fun, so I learned a lot, that's for sure.
Okay, now we're on to item number 6 is discussion on a single waste hauler. You know, I brought this up several times before. The other townships have all started going to single hauler waste haulers because they're kind of picking the townships apart. And when we find out now why they're not picking up our garbage here when they're having difficulties, because they have large contracts with other municipalities, so they send their people there. And our people up here are all spaced out, and everybody's got a different contractor, and it's kind of a thing where they say we take care of the big contracts, and then when we get time, we come up. If we only have 20 customers up here, we take care of the 20 customers. So I've gotten some quotes here. In Leonard, right now, they're using GFL. They're paying $54 a quarter. That's with recycling and large item pickup. It's included. We come down to another local disposal company, and they're charging $76 a quarter, and there's no recycling, and they don't have any large item contract with that. And then we have another company that's just over here right in the residential area, and they're charging $85.80 a quarter. They do have recycling, but they don't have large item pickup. So I'm just saying the contracts are all over the place. People are spending an awful lot of money. I mean, you're talking $343 for the local one right in this area here. You're talking $304 with no services whatsoever. And then in the village of Leonard, they're talking $216, and they're getting recycling and large item pickup. So it's all over the board. We have 6 different garbage trucks going through our town every day of the week, and they hit one house and bypass 8 houses, hit another house. Go, you know, this our roads. You know, we spend an awful lot of money on our roads, and the garbage trucks are probably one of the biggest offenders because they're generally overweight. So I just want to know, do they want me to keep researching this? Sometimes people get in, they get very passionate about this. I love my garbage man. I give him a 6-pack of beer, and he loves me too. And so I just want to know, do the people want us to continue looking at a one garbage hauler? Orion Township has gone to it. Rochester Hills has gone to it. Waterford has gone to it. And they're saving an awful lot of money. And when they first started, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of unhappy people, but I've talked to them, and they said after it was implemented, everybody's very happy. So I just need to have a direction from this board. Do you want us to continue to look for a one hauler, or do you want to drop it?
Mr. Supervisor, if I could, it looks like there's a pretty large crowd here, and I assume it might be about this. Could we open it up to general? And so we will not do any talking, we'll just listen to these people?
That would have to be a public forum.
Public forum.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't ask officially, you know, if everybody nodded their head like this if they were interested, or like this if they weren't, but you can't officially ask for that, so I just want to know, what does the board think?
I think it makes sense to get some bids. I mean, I don't like the wear and tear on our roads. I think you're right. There's 6 different trucks coming down my street all different times. I'm still on a gravel road. It probably will be forever. And we pay $85 a quarter, so if I can save money, I would do that. I know we brought up questions about billing, whether or not it'd be a direct bill to the residents, or the township would pass that on to the taxes, so I don't know if that's something we would need to vote on as a board, or just, but I mean, I think we should go forward with getting bids.
I agree with
It's only going to get worse, and I've talked to people who are in this garbage business, and the companies are gobbling up other companies back and forth, and the only way that you can protect your township is to have numbers. You have to have a number so that when they say, we got to go pick up the garbage in Addison Township because we have a contract with them and they're a large number, so they won't bypass us like we had some companies that didn't pick up for 3 weeks this last year. So anyways, I'm for a single garbage hauler, but I don't want to do all the work if I'm going to just hear complaints about it all the time.
Yeah, just based on principle, the free market idea that we have the ability to choose who we want, and if they're doing a good job, we can continue with them. I understand that like the roads have a lot of wear and tear, and I know a lot of people have seen the issues, but I think a lot of people might want to continue with whatever they're doing. So I know it's a lot, but there's always the option of like a special assessment district maybe, or I just think people might want the freedom to decide. So I've heard of some things like Green for Life in Madison Heights. They say they're charging for recycling, but they're not actually doing the recycling. It came up a few months ago on their agenda, I'm a little nervous of trash contracts sometimes just because of the Rizzo thing. But
you don't want to go to jail?
Yeah, a lot of trustees I met, kind of went to jail. So, but anyway, that's just my opinion,
That's one opinion, yes.
My feeling on this, I guess since we're doing this, I think some of the issues with garbage pickup or lack of garbage pickup probably were COVID related. I know a lot of companies were having employee issues. My suggestion, I think, was to try to survey our residents and see if they were interested. I have no idea how people feel about this, and I think some people are pretty passionate one way or the other. So I would like to see us do an open meeting on it, or try to survey the residents of whether we include something in the tax bill, a survey, or put something up on the internet. It's quite easy and not very costly to do a survey. I would like more of our residents' opinion.
Okay, so we have two sides. Okay, well, we have two for opening up and have a general, you can have a meeting, a public meeting, and hopefully everybody who's passionate one way or the other will show up. But this is what I'm hearing from the other ones, is that you always get the ones who don't want it, and everybody else doesn't.
Right, we don't necessarily, we want to hear from everybody, or a large sampling, not just the people that are really for it or really against it, I guess.
A lot of municipalities, they do a citizen survey, like, Southfield or where I live or anything like that. So we don't have to just do the one issue. You can send it out and then just get the opinions of the township on that.
I'd be okay with that. We want to send out a survey out and ask. That sound good? Anybody have, we don't need to, do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then who would like to make the motion?
Or you want to make it, I'll second it. I like your suggestion.
Well, I guess let's initially do a motion to do a survey, but then we're going to figure out how to do the survey and if we're going to spend money on that survey. So,
well, I kind of like your idea also, having it on the internet, having it on our website, and then if there's can we have a place where people can add to a page, like doing the survey?
I believe we can embed a Google form in there.
There's a lot of surveys go through around to the fire service, and they use Survey Monkey. It's just a link. You go in there, click a couple of questions, yes, and it submits it back, and all that information is tallied up, and it's rather cheap and very easy. So if anybody is compassionate about it, they can sign on to the township website, go in there, follow that link, and go from there. So
To answer your
really
question, yes.
Yeah, but
Are we going to get like how many people are going to go there versus, I mean, I don't care which way we want to go, but is that going to be a good result or a high number?
Well, it's important probably to do something on the internet, something on paper to try to hit a true sampling. If you just put it out on the internet, you're only technically going to get
That's what I'm saying, that you don't want two votes either, so.
Well, if it's on the internet, you can't necessarily control how many votes, so.
Can you do a notice in the paper like we do for our meetings?
There you go.
That was my question.
Well,
Or, I mean, that'd be reasonably inexpensive to put a notice in the paper, right? So if we get a sampling, hopefully it's a lot, maybe it'll be a little, but at least it'll give us some direction.
That would be the simplest one, if that's the way you want to go, and put a notice in the paper, and possibly there'll be an article, and then people can just email what they're thinking.
That could be a lot of emails.
Right, can't we set up the Survey Monkey on our website?
Oh, that's
and then
right.
do a notice in the paper saying, attention, Addison, I mean, I don't know how we
Because then
know
we could get
this.
that out there.
I don't know how do we know it's Addison Township residents that are taking the survey then?
Well, that's part of the problem, but technically if we got 200 results, that's probably going to, and we may try to do it as people come in, invite them to do the survey, invite people through the newspaper article to do the survey. So just getting the word out.
Can't have a sign off, huh?
So I guess I would make a motion then. I believe Survey Monkey is probably going to cost us a month sign up. So I would make a motion to create a survey to gauge interest in a single hauler for waste.
Would you also add that we put a notice in the newspaper?
Including a notice in the newspaper and a internet-based survey and paper copies available in the township.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I just, maybe we could put more than just the trash hauler in there, so that's more cost effective, you know? If we do that.
I think this is going to be a very emotional issue, and I'd like to keep it one issue, whether or not the people want this done. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of contracts, and we have to decide. I mean, you're going to have a public meeting here, you're going to be a lot of people here for and against the trash hauler.
Is there a timeline on this survey coming back results? Comes back to you?
If I end up with it, I cannot start this until after the election. I'm just going to tell you that.
Maybe January.
I'd be happy to come up with a form and figure out how to.
I'm just saying, I'm full.
Oh, I know you have an
Not
election
till
coming
after
up.
the election, so, and then we have to do the budget, so I'm probably looking at December before I can even, maybe earlier, I don't know.
I can help more with setting something up soon.
Okay, I'm okay with that. You okay with that? Everybody? Is that a motion?
I'll second
We
it.
got it? So, okay, any discussion on it? A roll call, please.
Karen Idle.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lynn Garrett.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Roy Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That passes. Move on to item number 7, is a resolution adopting the Township Improvement Revolving Fund. I've been looking at this for many years. I know some of the other townships have put together revolving improvement funds so that the residents can get projects done in the township. One of them could be like asphalting a road, and then if the township would pay the asphalt company, and then there'd be an SAD, or a special assessment district, to pay back the township at a 5% interest. But that's one way of improving our roads if people want to actually pave the roads, and that's guaranteed by the taxes. So I think it would benefit paving some roads. We have one road already that's people have already done most of the work, getting all the engineering and everything around the lake. They're interested in getting it paved so that they don't have the gravel and the chloride runoff into the lake. And they'd like to put the asphalt in and be done with the mud and gravel being graded all the time. So I'm proposing that we put together in the Township Improvement Revolving Fund. I'd like to put $200,000 in there to begin with. The people that are talking about asphalting, their project's going to be about $130,000, but I believe that some of them are going to pay all of it right up front. So it won't be that much, but I have had contact with other streets that lead into the lake, and they'd like to asphalt also. And I think that's a great idea if the improvement fund can make that happen. Glenwood off of DeQuinder, they asphalted their hole. That was a huge project. Unfortunately, they didn't have a fund, and they had to go to the bank to get it. And it turned into a big project because it wasn't done in a timely fashion. Whereas if we set this up ahead of time, then that money can be used for these projects, so these people can actually get stuff done and pay us back over 5 years or 7 years, whatever we determine. So, any questions or discussion on this? Yes.
What if there's 5 roads that want to use the funds, and we only have 200 and it's gone like in the first, and then we're waiting 5 years to recoup? And it only benefits one street then?
Well,
I mean,
I surmise there's a limit on how much we can do, okay, by law, I believe.
So attached is the law, and it tells you how much you can have in that one fund at any one set time. So I believe the supervisor is just proposing 200,000 to start with, and then we can increase it, like every budget year, we can increase it as long as we don't go over the mills that's allowed. It says two mills.
And every year we get money back.
Right, so how much is 2 mills?
About 600.
Oh, okay. We still may run into 60. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I like the idea. Just how do we decide who gets the funds?
So like we'll amend the budget with this resolution, and then next budget time, you can consider if you wanted to put in more.
Right, I'm just saying, how do you tell which residents their street's gonna get done? We're gonna give that street the funds and not this street.
Well, they have to do all of the engineering, they have to do the special assessment, they have to go around and get all of their people 51% signed up for this. And that takes them a while to get all of that done. The one street that I'm talking about is right behind Louis there, the Monotic and Ketchakoma. They have a real problem that everybody's been fighting with gravel going down into everybody's driveways, and it also goes and fills in the lagoon so that they're having difficulty getting out of the lagoon because it's filling up at the entrance there. They'll have to dredge it or whatever. But I kind of tell people that if they pave that, if they asphalted that road, they recoup that money instantly in the value of their house, probably more. It's turning out that it's going to be about $7,500 per house on that street. And I know that their house will be worth more than $7,500 more once they're on a paved road. And they no longer have to deal with gravel and the mud and flowing into their driveways and stuff.
So in short, it's like loans with interest, right?
5% interest is the maximum by law that we can charge, but we can go 5 or 7 years. We can, the board can choose the length of time.
Bruce, where does this first initial $200,000 come from?
That's what I suggested to put in there because I do know that some of the people are going to pay up front on this one, and it probably, by the time we're done, it's probably going to be under $100,000 for one road. And I have another road that's about less than half that size that's interested in doing the same thing, so their cost would probably be...
Where does the money come from that we put
General fund, it has to come from the general fund.
So we're going to be paying for this?
We pay up front, and then they pay us back at a 5% interest.
So we just move it from the general fund.
I mean, it's a SAD, so we're guaranteed the money, and the house values have risen, so we're not, I mean, it's a guaranteed thing. And at 5% interest, I know that's a lot, but people have the option of paying it off if they don't want to pay the 5% interest. Any other discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I think it sounds like a good idea. I would make the motion to adopt the Township Improvement Revolving Fund.
Second.
With a $200,000 startup?
Yeah, it's in the motion, it's in the resolution, so yes.
And do we have a second?
Second.
And we do have a second. Any discussion on this? Do we have a roll call, please?
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Donnelly.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Treasurer Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that passes. Thank you. Move on to item number 8, discussion of the American Rescue Plan, funds and possible uses. I just had the supervisors meeting with all the other township supervisors today, and we're still back to the same thing. The only thing that they said that looks like might be improving is that we can use the money for parks, improvement of parks. Parks is, in Washington, they're starting to loosen up a little bit so that parks might be included. Other than that, broadband. I think we can also use it for the ventilation system here. We want to put in electronic filters. But anybody else? I asked everybody on the board if they had their ears open, if they had any other suggestions.
I did come up with some ideas before, but in light of everybody really researching this, and there's a big collaboration going on between the federal and the state, and there's groups that are trying to organize to actually be able to pool our money together. I think it's good to keep accepting ideas, but if we don't have a revenue loss, we're kind of stuck. So if we're going to be stuck with broadband, I think it's going to be important to pool our money with the state and the Fed. Those are just my thoughts. I'm just thinking that maybe, do we want to do this every month or wait a couple months?
Well, it's a moving target right now, and every supervisor's in the same spot.
And not that I'm hoping for a revenue loss, but a revenue loss is defined as not a 4.1% increase. There are 4 dates in which to calculate that loss, so I've been playing with the numbers some more, and Pauline actually gave me somebody's contact information to ask a question that I had to, but some of those dates that we can calculate are still out in the future, so we may have not an actual revenue loss, but not as much growth as what the state dictates that we may have. So the dates are that we calculate on are 20, 21, 22, and 23. So it's not that we didn't have a revenue loss, because there's still potential for one.
Well, I did ask the other supervisors if any of them had any losses, and they said no, because the government made a lot of us whole by the grants we got. They're in the same boat.
We've had a lot of growth in the township, so our taxable value has increased substantially in the last couple of years.
Well, I guess we make a motion that we table this.
I'll make that motion, we table it.
Support. So when?
I'd like to see it every time Bruce has a supervisor's meeting. That's monthly, isn't it?
Well, how about if we do it in December, and then next month I'll come back and tell you what all the other township supervisors...
Is there a time limit to submit?
There is, but we've submitted, so now we have to just, yes, we're fine, because we have a couple years now to actually get the plans ready and set to go.
December, I'd like to put December in my motion.
We have 4 years to use it, so, and anything over $750,000 in 1 year creates a federal audit. And one of the townships went through that, and they said it's extremely time-consuming. They had to hire extra people, 2 other people, and it cost them a lot of money, and they said they won't do that again, so they're always spending under $750,000 a year. We don't have that problem. Our total is in the $600,000 bracket. So.
And we have not received the funds yet.
Yeah. So we do have a motion to
Bring it back
put
in
it in December, and in November I'll update if I hear anything from the other supervisors. Do we have a second?
I support.
And we have support. Any discussion? We have roll call, please.
Yes, Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Geisel.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to public forum. This is where we listen to everybody. We don't respond. Numbers are to respond. And this is where we listen. We give everybody about 3 minutes. So if somebody'd like to come up, you just have to tell us your name and if you want your address, whatever, and then address the board. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Jeff Barson, and I live at 2750 Rochester Road, Madison Township. I enjoyed listening to your discussion of the desire for the township to go to some single waste hauler. I think the greatest thing you could do is you keep your nose out of that. By getting involved in it, you are inadvertently, maybe even subliminally altering competition. I personally, I own a small business. I take exception to that. If you're out selling tiddlywinks out in the corner, Mr. Pearson, and said we only want one tiddlywink seller, I'd say, hey, you're trying to alter competition. The people I use, it's a real simple process. They send me a bill once a quarter, I send them a check, and they pick up. I've been with them 2.5, 3 years, they've never missed a pickup. If somebody that's on residential service, subscription service says, gee whiz, ABC or XYZ company missed me a couple times, I'll bet you dinner at the nicest restaurant in Detroit, Mr. Pearson's, because they didn't pay their bill. That's how it works. There's an attitude with some of the people that, you know, we got an awful lot of trucks and blah, blah, blah. Whether you have one company or 10 companies here, you're going to have the same ton trash per mile. There's only so much trash generated in Aston Township. If you have one company do it, or 10 companies, they're going to transport the same amount of tons over the road per year. It's as simple as that. I would very much like to see my people remain in place, that if I want to do business with them, I can, without what I call, with all due respect, any kind of interference from the township.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Since we're on that topic, I moved up from down south in Rochester, and we had multiple haulers going up and down our road all the time with kids in our street. Like 3 days a week, you had trash haulers going down our road. So they went to a big contest, or a bid proposal, where they went to a single trash hauler. We improved our service, we reduced our rate, we had fewer trucks going down our road. I tell you from experience in Rochester, it was fabulous. It was incorporated in our tax bill, and we got great service, and we got great response when we had a concern. So while I understand your concern about free market enterprise, you're going to go out for a single trash hauler bid. That is a free market enterprise. That doesn't mean that we can't change suppliers every 2 or 3 years if we have a single hauler, but we can sure improve our leverage about getting our level of service. So you can combine both and end up with a better result. So coming from experience, having been before we had it in Rochester to when we went to it, huge improvement, worked great, was cheaper, and I think you should definitely move forward with consideration of it. And it's Mike Bartlett on Rochester Road.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm going to change the subject. My name is Eileen Galbraith. I live at 570 Monadnock, and this is on the dock ordinance. Okay. Just have some comments and some questions. The dock ordinance that's in place now has been there since 1988. It was changed, I should say, in 88 because of funneling. Now the dock that I have has an L shape. It's not infringing on anyone who lives on the lake. It's not restricting traffic flow for anyone using the lake. Our dock doesn't affect water quality. The Lakeville property owners pay for weed cutting, weed chemicals, the maintenance of the weed cutter. We have to find a place to park the weed cutter, we have to find a place to unload the weeds from the weed cutter. That all falls on the property owners, not on the township board. And then we also pay for the police patrol. We pay higher taxes for living on the lake. I reported to Eagle about this problem that Bruce was talking about on Monadic, about chemicals and waste and stuff, and silt going into the lake. Haven't heard from them in 3 months. That's water quality. My dock's not infringing on water quality. So I'm just trying to figure out why the township has suddenly decided to enforce an ordinance that's been out there. And I have elected you officials to represent me and my best interests. I don't understand why the board would want to give citations to people that we voted you in to help our community be together and work together. I don't see a reason why we can't change the resolution, the ordinance to another resolution. And I don't see why, we have to expense all this and go to court when we could do this with the lake board and the township and work this out without going to court.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, I also have I want to show you guys a picture. No, I want to show you guys a picture of how the lake was before. We all had sandy beaches, and the docks were way out. And that might be why the docks were so long. And we do not have those beaches anymore.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Hi, my name's Mary Frost. You heard me about the cemetery, but I'm also involved with the library. And we are having a meeting tomorrow. You guys are all welcome to do your opinions. But I have good news. We got the 100th brick today. And that's an improvement, and we all got very excited about getting the 100th brick. So that's all. I wanted to end with a positive note that our township is, I think, behind us. If you're not, if you have a problem, come talk to us tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey Bruce, any update on the well, 2 test wells for Copper Hills? Are we going to see anything on that, or the connection of the septic field to the sewage treatment plants anytime soon?
Okay.
Well, before you adjourn, Ron Huck, 2199 Drainer Road. I realized that not too long ago there was a vote, okay, about opening up the consent judgment on Copper Hills, okay, and it didn't pass, 4-3. Most of the people that are here today, okay, are here to let you know we are not in favor of this consent agreement to be opened, okay? There are some of you that ran on tickets, okay, to say you would not vote to open this consent judgment, all right? We live around this. We've seen the site plan, okay, 50-foot lots and all that stuff, all right? That's not what we moved here for, okay? That's not what that consent judgment was. This board, okay, years ago, fought Copper Hills for this development, all right? And there was a compromise reached, which is the consent judgment, all right? So both parties compromised. We want you to stay with that compromise and do not open the consent judgment, all right? And then there's a second part of this, okay? As Rob just spoke about the test wells, okay? Kathy over here that lives right on the corner of Drainer and Lakeville Road has complained, called the township, called the county health department about the smells coming from the lagoon, okay? I definitely would like to see the permit or the permit number for the lagoon, if all the equipment, what was put in, how this was passed, okay, or how this was inspected, I think is a better word. Who goes and does the inspections, okay, on this? Is it done annually or not? We're talking about human waste here, okay? I'm hearing about garbage hauling and stuff. We got human waste that's right across the corner. We want to know if it's taken care of properly. Then I understand that Wright Development is allowed to take the liquid from the lagoon and then irrigate the golf course with it, all right? And if this process is not done right in the beginning, what are you putting on the doggone greens? What are you spraying over there where people are walking, where employees are cutting grass constantly, okay? Now, my understanding, it goes through a UV filter. However, research I've done, okay, those bulbs have to be changed at least once to 1.5 years. And based on what I've seen and all the documents that I've seen on this, okay, Wright Development has tried to cut corners in every way they can. So I'm wondering if the bulbs are actually functioning, or is he just running it through a filter that's non-functional? And again, that goes back to inspections. Inspections on this should be done at least annually. And I don't understand why people can't get answers from either this township on inspections that are done, or the Oakland County Health Department, or if not, Eagle. And if this can't be done and we can't get answers on this, okay, then okay, we'll light it up. We'll see if Channel 4 or Channel 7 want to come out here, okay, and look into this and see what's really going on. Again, I'm talking about human waste. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, John Fredericks, 1440 Spruce. I'm under the understanding that until recently, the sewage treatment plant was expelling its water onto the golf course. It had no ultraviolet treatment to take care of the water to kill the bacteria on it. This has been going on for years. And as far as I know, that ultraviolet light system hasn't been installed, and there's an aerator sitting over there in the building that could kind of reduce a little bit of the smell, and they haven't put that in either. So I mean, it just goes on, and there's nobody to follow up on getting this taken care of. And another thing I want to say, if we allow a development to go in there and increase the density of that golf course, we're going to probably need another sewage treatment plant, or maybe one 5 times as big as the one that's in there now. Where are they going to put it? Do you ever think, have you ever seen a sewage treatment plant in the middle of the development? No, it's always on the outskirts up against somebody else's house, and not the people that live there. So I'm really opposed to any kind of more, you know, concentrated density on the golf course. And I was assured 25, 30 years ago that this would never happen, that this was the end of it. Once he got the PUD, it would never be split. And I don't know why the township is so trying to get this pushed through to get rid of the consent agreement. What interest does that getting rid of the consent agreement have for the people that live around that development? That's all I want to say.
Anybody else? Okay.
Oh, no, I had one over here.
We have one more? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to bring the docks back up. My name's Diane McQueen. I live on 2655 Devonshire. I'm at the north quiet end of the lake, and my docks are okay. But I have a problem that we have a right to change and request change to ordinance. We did that organized for the ordinance that's in business today. We brought it to the team, and they denied it. They denied it illegally. They didn't follow the process of allowing the people that live on the lake to change ordinance to the way they want. So I am requesting this township to bring the ordinance back up in an organized meeting, review our request, and do it correctly. You have 90 days to answer a letter I sent you, which has not been answered. You then have to put our public notice in the newspaper. After you do that, you have to have a town hall meeting, very organized, with our new ordinance. So please follow through with the letter I sent. Your 90 days are ticking. Thank you.
One additional item, I'll try to keep it short. Talk about 2 things, groupthink and attention to detail. Plays into the dock situation, but this is a general request for all of us. Groupthink, you know, the Challenger O-rings, there was groupthink there, that's the classic example. Oh boy, if we would have just got out of groupthinks, the Challenger would not have exploded. Tide Pods are poisons. If those kids wouldn't eat them and realize they're poison, maybe they wouldn't get sick. I've heard for 16 years since I live in this township, and via the township supervisor at a previous meeting, that we have a lake that's beautiful because someone had the wherewithal to put in an ordinance that has something to do with docks, boats, shoreline access walkways. So we put the light of day thought process on this. That tells us that all those other congested, unsightly lakes in Oakland County that we talk about not wanting to be like, they're suddenly about to turn beautiful here as we roll into winter and most docks and all boats get removed. But if we put a little thought into that, I think we all know that's not exactly true. We're beautiful here on this lake because of our low house density per linear foot of shoreline, period. That's it. Whatever this dock drama is about, let's not fool ourselves that it's about lake beauty. Okay? The second point, okay, the Michigan Municipal League tells us that any ordinance needs to be clear and precise language or it can be shown to be unconstitutionally void for vagueness. That's been done in Michigan and other states plenty times. I urge all of us, whatever title we accept, truck driver, engineer, police officer, pilot, doctor, surgeon, township board position holder, I urge you to have the courage, put aside egos, ask the hard questions with attention to details. When something needs correcting or adjusting from groupthink, don't be afraid. Revisions to things gone wrong are progress. Now, today with Judge Asadorian in the 52-3 court, my dock citation was dismissed per an apparent lack of attention to details from the township attorney, who's reiterating the same thing that the township building officer would tell us about grandfathered nonconformities. It's dismissed. You can look it up yourself. I can tell you the details, but apparently wrong, and as soon as that conversation was had, said let's go to trial, it was immediately dismissed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Another one?
I'd like to speak to 2 points, one of which is this gentleman's comment about a single trash hauler. Every year, my next door neighbor gets her renewal bill for her trash collection from Waste Management a month or two before I get mine. We live 350 feet apart. My bill comes 2 months later and it is consistently $150 more, which means every year I call Waste Management and renegotiate my Waste Management bill. Our trash this year, our recycling in particularly, has been missed on multiple occasions. We pay our bills annually, so it's not because our bills are not paid. It is because, as you mentioned, the trash services are spread too thin and we get last pick. I think a single hauler trash payment would be fairer to the community at large because we would all be subject to the same bill. We wouldn't have to call and fight our case every year, and everyone would be rated at the same rate. With respect to the redevelopment or the reopening of the Copper Hills consent agreement, if you look at the proposal that was offered in October of 2020, they wanted to increase the density from roughly 300 houses to over 500. If you think about that, Copper Hills Golf Course is bordered on three sides by dirt roads. That means 500 houses, a minimum of 1,000 vehicles a day traveling on our dirt roads, not to mention the ancillary Amazon trucks, the trash haulers, the school buses that would be involved in that. The infrastructure that we have in this township doesn't accommodate that much housing in that density. We have well water that would be tapped into by these additional 200 homes. We have dirt roads, and they clearly do not have adequate septic facilities. It's ridiculous to think that our community can support a population density of 500 homes in that development.
and that was determined 20-some years ago and needs to remain the same today unless you can tell me you're running city water and city sewer all the way down Lakeville Road from downtown Oxford.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll move on then to Addison Township Board reports. Anybody on the board have a report? Nobody?
We have a no-haz pickup day on Saturday. I believe it's at the Pontiac County facility. So if you're interested in getting rid of like your toxic chemicals or paint or prescriptions or old electronics, that's a great place to go. And you can look that up on Oakland County's website. And I think there might be a link on Addison's website as well.
In October, I plan on going to a Lapeer County meeting, and at that meeting there's going to be a representative from MSU concerning gypsy moths. So I'm going to attend that meeting to see if they are going to be receptive to help Addison Township.
Okay, let's move on to legal reports. Do we have any?
No.
No? Then we'll go on to supervisor's report.
I'm sorry, I have communication.
Oh, you do have communication.
Sorry about that. We received 4 communications, actually 5, 2 are from Paul Osner, one of which he wanted me to note that I mistakenly ended it with me signing app as treasurer of Lakeville Lake Properties Association, and he did that in error. We have another one from Robert Schramm. We have from Eric and Rebecca Beckman, and we have from Jeff Banazinski. All 4 are concerning the dock ordinances, and these correspondence will be available at the township if anybody wants to review them. Thank you.
And now we'll move on to supervisor's report. Well, I think we're getting notice that the sheriff's contract is going up. I think the county has indicated that inflation has gone, as far as the county is concerned, up 5.3%, so we should be aware of that. Today is Michigan Trails Week, goes the 19th through the 26th. Michigan has 13,000 miles of trails, and the rails to trails, we have more than any other state. So Addison Township has a Pollyant Trail right through our township, and if you go out there and look, you'll see an awful lot of people there every single night, and I'm out there myself. And I can remember years ago, it goes right through our family farm there, and you would hardly even see a person. Now it's constantly used. I have something to say about the sewer plant at the golf course. I've been out there many times about the sewer smell. We did not issue the permit there. They went around us and went to the state. The state issued the permit. I've had the health department out there. I've had the EPA out there. I've had even the homeowners, and I understand that some of the sewer plant's been turned over to the homeowners to maintain. So I guess we could sue the homeowners. I'm not sure if that's something that the township wants to do. I've tried in every way I can to tell the people at the state and the county that it stinks. I drive by there. I've made this speech many times before. It stinks. I call everybody up and they say it's running properly. When you come to the people that wanted to do improvements at the golf course, they wanted to buy the golf course. They're from Macomb Township over there. They have high density. I explained to them that they won't get high density in Addison Township. They said they would still like to talk with us. They would like, and I said, first, before you even talk, you have to fix the sewer system. You have to hook up the other 13 or 16 homes to the sewer system. I said, you got to get rid of the junky trailers out front. I said, and we may talk to you and listen. But I said, you're not going to get the density. by listening to these people, I would hope that maybe the price of the sale of the golf course will have to come down in price, or whatever they're asking. If these people are interested, they have several golf courses that they have built and manage, and they're interested in it. I only said that if we don't listen, if there's somebody that wants to come in, they said the first thing they would do is put in a whole new sewer plant. I said that would be a good start, but you'd have to convince this board what you're doing. So I have no idea what they're asking for that golf course, but if it's an awful lot of money and the owner finds out that they can't get all of these homes on there, then I would have to say that the price is going to have to come down. You know, everybody gets all inflamed that we're going to change, somebody's going to change the consent agreement. There's only one person who was here, I think, when that consent agreement was signed. None of us are part of that. But everybody in this township smells the sewer. Everybody in this township sees the junky trailers. I've walked over there, like I said, I was surprised that the homeowners took over the sewer plant from the golf course, the running of it. So I went out and I walked it with every official I can. And they said it's running just perfectly. I said, it can't be, it stinks. And they said, no, that's how it does. It flips twice a year. And I said, well, you need some aerators in here. Well, the aerators are there. They're in the shed. Nobody put the aerators out. This is where I speak, okay? Please don't raise your hand, okay? This is my day, okay?
I'm listening.
Everybody
I
else.
want to put something into your comment.
I have to get some of these things out, okay? We never said that we're changing it and putting all these houses in. All we said is somebody wanted to come in and talk to us about improving it. If you guys want to keep looking at that, the junky trailers there, the township has taken them to court before, and it costs a lot of money, and we didn't come back with anything. You know, it goes before a judge. We can, I guess, everybody says we can close down the golf course. Then what do we do with the people who have the nice homes around the golf course? What's their value in this? So either we put our heads together and we get somebody who has money, because apparently when Curtis Wright died, there's no money there. He was the owner. His wife runs it now. They don't have any money for this golf course. So what's our option? Well, hopefully we get a new owner in there that will say, okay, I'll buy it, and it's going to be this price because I got to put a lot of improvements in to make it a viable golf course. The golf course is a good golf course. It'll make money. So my opinion is, let it be the golf course and come in and fix the stuff, and the price has got to be lowered. But if we don't want to talk, then nothing's going to get done. I'm fine with it. I wasn't here when these agreements were all made. I wasn't here. But I look at those junky trailers every day, and I know that township spent a lot of money there. But if we don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But the sewer plant still stinks. So I don't know what to tell you, except that when somebody wants to buy the place, I think we should at least have our ears on and say, we might be interested, but these are our requirements. And they're going to make money at that golf course. We need a clubhouse there. I've been saying that. They're supposed to have a clubhouse there. They don't have a clubhouse. But if somebody comes in and puts a nice clubhouse, a swimming pool, they'll make money. It's an ideal location. But the original owners right now, they don't have the money to do it. So it's just marking time. So we can take them to court, and maybe they'll just close the place up. I don't know. Sir?
If I may, just one.
No. This is my time. Okay, everybody had public forum.
We didn't know where you were coming from,
sir. Please.
So you're not telling the whole story. The homeowners board was made up of 5 people.
Sir,
3 of them.
This is my turn.
Curtis, his wife, and his daughter. So you wonder how it got transferred?
I'm trying to explain our position. That's it. And this is my time. I have to have some time to, I listen to everybody else. I listen.
Go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead.
And what I'm trying to say is that, do you want this thing fixed? Do you want us to find the best resolution that we can for this? Or do you want us just to leave it the way it is? That's what's really up here. And when somebody comes in and they say, this is what we can do, well, in Macomb County, that's what they can do. They were trying to impress us with how much they could do. They thought this township, we wanted more residents and high density, and we wanted to grow like all the other townships. But that's not our township. We want low density, and we want to keep our township rural. So I explained that to them. So they said, well, we would like to talk to you about what we could do to meet that. But nobody wants to talk about it because we had a motion right away to slam the door and nobody talks. So that's where we're at right now. So as of right now, I don't think the developers are coming back. But anyways, so it is what it is right now. The dock situation. That did go to the planning board. The planning board did take all kinds of meetings with that. There were a lot of people in the planning board. The planning board said the ordinance is a good ordinance. It was meant to be that way in 1988. So they came to the board, and the board took the recommendation of the planning board. So in 1988, they had the forethought, like I said, to keep this lake different than the other lakes. They saw what was happening at the other lakes. They saw that everybody was turning it into a cement pond. And so they decided the lake came to the township and asked us to put this ordinance into effect. They did. Now all of a sudden we have a change of people that move out here, and that everybody buys and sells, and now everybody wants a change. Right now, the planning board recommended that we keep the ordinance the way it was, and it was a unanimous vote of the township board to keep the ordinance in effect. It's a good ordinance. It emulates the state ordinance. So, anyways, that's all I have to say for right now.
That's not true.
And thank you very much, and I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion, we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Adjourn.